Thinking Aloud. Conversations on the leading edge of knowledge and discovery with psychologist Jeffrey Mishlove.
The deepest nature of communication that occurs, not just between humans, but between all sentient beings, is telepathic. So telepathy is central to Whitehead's cosmology, the idea that we meaning all sentient beings, not just human beings, communicate through feeling, through shared
which is really what
consciousness.
the word telepathic means. It's pathos. It comes from the root word associated with feeling.
Yes.
Most people think of it as mind-to-mind communication, but it's not quite.
Very good. That's exactly right. Yes. Yes.
So when Whitehead referred to telepathy, he meant it really in that sense, not looking at any of the data from parapsychology.
Correct. As he worked it out from a very different line of reasoning, that the only way to really understand the fact that we are embodied beings that experience sentience, that have any experience, is that whatever we are made of at every level must also have a component of experience, of feeling to it. And so right down at the level of atoms, not just cells, but molecules and atoms and subatomic particles, there is some degree of feeling. The technical term he used is prehension, that every existent actual entity prehends or feels its relationship within the network of other sentient beings that it exists in.
And I suppose it's worth mentioning that both you and I have had the pleasure of knowing the process philosopher Arthur M. Young.
Yes, another process philosopher.
Author of The Reflexive Universe and The Geometry of Meaning, who tried to take Whitehead's approach and extend it further into a grand cosmology that certainly included a lot of mystical traditions as well as parapsychological.
Yeah, Arthur Young is another prominent process philosopher who has influenced me and impressed me with his work. He does go beyond Whitehead in including different levels of reality. So he presents what could be called a continuum ontology, whereas Whitehead basically, I don't mean this in any negative sense, as a more of a flatland ontology, whereas Young recognizes the great chain of being, that there are different levels of reality, and each level of reality has its own particular way of knowing that reality, and that there is a process from involution, beginning with spirit, or what he calls the quantum of action, all the way down. It comes down through the different levels. There's a turning point, and then it begins to evolve back up in the process of the homecoming back up to spirit again.
Yes, it's a very complex system, and I hope to get into it with you in more detail in a subsequent interview, but certainly worth mentioning for the time being. But I think where I want to go with this now is panpsychism. What it really implies is that an object such as this stone sculpture right here is possessing a kind of psyche or soul.
Yes and no. And let me just unpack that a little bit. There's a distinction in panpsychism between, we could colloquially call heaps and wholes, or technically between aggregates and individuals. And so a rock, even a beautiful sculpture like that, would be considered an aggregate, a heap, not a whole, as an organism would be. And the distinction is that the parts of the rock are related to each other externally through physical, energetic relationships, whereas the parts of an organism are internally related, where each part is contributing to the being of its neighbors, to the other parts of it. So in an organism, every part of us is interdependent with all the other parts, and that's not true of a chair or a table or a rock, that you can split a rock in two and the parts will remain intact. If you split an organism in two, both halves will decay. because they require each other for their own individuality to be maintained.
Well,